Well, it's great to be with you, Riley. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, of course. I want to start with this brutal assassination in Minnesota. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, Riley, it is a tragic, tragic story. And of course, as you said and pointed out so clearly, there's a lot we don't yet know about this man, about his motives and what he was doing. But it seems very clear that it was a targeted political hit. And the reality is there has got to be zero tolerance for this kind of violence in American politics. I mean, it's gotten out of hand. And all of us, regardless of political party, regardless of political persuasion, have got to condemn this violence and these kind of actions in our nation today.
Yes. You know, I would expect to see something like this in, say, Somalia, maybe in Libya, maybe in Venezuela or Haiti. But to see this kind of violence here in America, it's extremely disheartening and disturbing. And Congressman, I'm really trying to figure out what's going on in America right now, because we've seen so much political violence. And I don't know about you, sir, but I get this feeling in my gut that we're boiling up to something bigger. And I don't know. I really hope that I'm wrong about that. But it's fundamentally un-American. And like you said, we have to have a zero tolerance policy. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. Doesn't matter what your ideology is. This is it's completely unacceptable.
And we, as political leaders, have got to show a certain amount of responsibility in our rhetoric. I mean, we've become so personal, it seems, in the things that we're saying about individuals, and we've got to keep it on a higher level. We've got to be able to speak about policy and speak about what's happening with policy, but keep it from becoming so personal that leads people that are out of their minds, like obviously this guy is, to these acts of violence. And really and truly, it's a time all of us across our nation have got to pull together and just tone down the level of the rhetoric that we're seeing happen.
Yes. So to your excellent point there, sir, the fact that he had no King's protests reportedly in the back of the police SUV he was using, that makes me wonder if the mainstream media's increasingly hostile rhetoric toward this administration, but just in general, played a part in maybe radicalizing this individual. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's very possible. I mean, when you're being fed a steady diet, that somehow we have a dictator, or somehow that he wants to be king. When you start feeding rhetoric with rhetoric like that, you start feeding into the minds and hearts of individuals that obviously are not stable. Then there's going to be tragedy on the other side of it, I fear.
Yes, and right now there's a big debate. Was this guy a leftist? Was he a conservative, liberal, progressive? It doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. So I just want to wrap up this conversation before we move on by saying that doesn't matter. What his ideology was, it shouldn't concern us. What matters is, like you said, setting a better example for all of us moving forward.
Exactly. It's important that we really exercise some leadership here around the country, and let's get back to the civil discourse and civil conversation, and not just be throwing things out and calling people names like Hitler and all those kind of things, because all that does is it inflames individuals, and we've got to show more responsibility than that.
Amen. Completely. I do want to ask you, though, really quick, Congressman, as well, about the possible extension of the travel ban. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think President Trump is simply following through on what he has said all along as his administration has come in, and that is that he wants to protect Americans. He wants to make sure people are not importing violence and importing criminals and those kind of folks into our culture. And we got to remember that when you enter the United States as a foreign individual, it is a privilege. It's not a right. And I think the president is just simply trying to make sure that we're covering all of our bases. He and Secretary Rubio have given a 60-day notice to these countries who I think are being given plenty of opportunity to comply and make sure that all the information that should be supplied is being supplied, so that we can be careful about who we're bringing into the country. So I applaud it. I think it's just another layer of security. And I think American people want to be secure and need to be secure.
Oh, completely agreed. And especially when you look at countries that have governments that are openly hostile toward ours, and then you factor in everything we saw under the Biden administration, tens of millions of people from more than 150 countries all over the world just pouring in. We haven't vetted them. We don't know who they are. We don't know what their intentions are. They may feel, they may hate America to its core, and they may be plotting something. And I'm not here to fearmonger, but that is a legitimately terrifying thought to me.
Well, it is true. In most of these countries, a lot of them are third world countries. And he is just, again, I think it's as a measure of security that I think is important. Yes. And I think the president, along with Secretary Rubio, are doing everything they can to protect American interests and the American citizens with this discussion.
So speaking then of American interests and protecting them, let's talk for a moment about the current status with the big, beautiful bill. It's in the Senate. It's facing a little bit of hurdles, but what are you hearing about that right now?
Well, I'm continue to be confident, quite frankly. I mean, we obviously left Washington the end of last week. As you point out, the work is continuing on in the Senate, the conversation. We're going to be returning to D.C. The first of next week in hopes of just seeing progress made. I know the president and the speaker have made it clear that we're wanting to see July 4th, the president able to sign this bill. There's so many good things in this bill that I think are important for folks to understand, yes, including just based on the prior subject we were talking about, securing our border. There's money in this bill that's going to help get the additional 10,000 additional ICE agents who we're seeing all over the country that are doing an incredible job of again, protecting us and finding those that are here illegally. So that's a major piece. Obviously, the tax cut is critical, and it's going to mean so much to so many, because if we don't take action, if we fail to pass this bill, then we're going to find ourselves with the largest tax increase that this country has experienced at one time. And we cannot have that happen. And I don't think we're going to have that happen. So it's making progress. It's moving forward. The Senate, I think some conservatives in the Senate are trying to figure out how they can tweak it to make it better. And I'm all for making it better if they can. But I do think in a timely manner, we've got to move. We've got to take action. And my hope is that we're going to be able to see even a little more conservative, improved bill that comes back to the House. We'll be able to vote on it and pass it, and hopefully have the president's signature on it by the 4th of July.
I certainly hope so. I saw J.D. Vance talking about it recently, and to his credit, he said it's not a perfect bill, but it really delivers on so many good things for the American people. And this administration, we have just a few chances here to really deliver on that mandate that the Americans gave Trump in November. So I'm really hoping it gets passed. If there's ideas concrete about how to make it better, I'm totally open to it, but even as it stands, this would be so transformational for this country, and this is exactly what the American people voted for, myself included. So I love to see that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's gonna kick illegals off the rolls of the benefits that they've been receiving, and that's so important. It's going to defund Planned Parenthood. It's going to keep us from paying for transgender surgery for children and adults through other benefits. There's just so many things that are in this bill that are critically important, and we've got to get it over the finish line. And I am confident that my colleagues in the Senate are going to see it happen, and that we're going to give final approval in the House to the adjustments that are made, and let's get it done.
I also think the fact that Democrats and the liberal media are attacking it so much tells us we are right over the target. So that's a very good sign to me. But I had a couple other things on the list to go through with you as well, sir. Let's talk about the Army Parade for just a moment. What does it tell you to see Democrats calling President Trump a fascist for having the gall to celebrate the brave men and women of this country who keep us free?
Well, once again, when you don't have an argument, you name call. And that's exactly what I think they're doing. Listen, it was an incredible moment for America.
Yes.
People tuned in from all over the country, really from all over the world, to watch it if they weren't able to be there in person. This was an opportunity for America to celebrate 250 years of the United States Army. I mean, it is going to be so fascinating to see what this is going to do for recruiting numbers in the days ahead. I mean, all of us were moved and touched as we watched children and young people, children on their dad's shoulders, watching this parade, the smiles on their faces, the opportunity to see things that really they had never seen before. The president's speech, I thought, was just right on target. I mean, it was the right tone, it was the right message, it was the celebration that we all had hoped it would be. And listen, I've heard even the liberals have had to admit that the president knocked a home run in the speech that he gave, and nobody that I've heard has been critical of just how he delivered in that moment.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is they just want to criticize everything he does to some extent because it's the TDS that takes over. They just can't think for themselves. But I have to agree, it was a nice display of patriotism and strength. And these heroes, they've so earned it. They keep us free every single day. Freedom is not free. It comes with an extremely high cost. So I think they deserve a little bit of recognition for what they do every single day to protect people like you and me, sir. So I'm all for it.
And I'll say it was so well done. I mean, from having all of the different wars where our troops have fought in and stood strong and gave us that opportunity as the son of my dad, who was in World War II, and he was a waist gunner on a B-17. And to know the sacrifices he made, his plane was shot down. He was a prisoner of war from November of 44 until May of 45. And again, and I just got goosebumps just watching on television the full parade. And in so many ways, it just stirs the hearts of all Americans, reminding us of the sacrifices that our soldiers have made.
Yes, great word, sacrifices. Now, final thoughts for you as well, sir, while we have you, because I know you're very busy, so I don't want to keep you, but what is your situation or your thoughts right now about everything that's unfolding between Israel and Iran?
Oh, listen, first of all, I want all of us across America to continue to pray for Jerusalem. Pray for the people of Israel. This is absolutely critical. Israel has stepped up and done something that all the world should be thanking them for, and that is moving forward to make sure there is not a nuclear Iran. Listen, everything that the president had made clear when he gave Iran every opportunity to come to the table. He gave them every opportunity to make a deal. He gave them 60 days to sit down and come up with a plan that would have avoided this movement. And yet they refused to do it. They would always slow walk it. They would, every now and then, they would give some chatter that maybe we're interested in something, but it was always as if they were putting it off and putting it off. And Israel said enough. And when you look at the reality of how close they are getting, I mean, within days of having the weapon that they would be able to deliver. And when you watch them firing missiles, these ballistic missiles into these population centers in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem and in Haifa and other places, and what they're doing to these population centers should remind all of the world that these people could never be trusted with a nuclear weapon. And listen, I thank God for the soldiers in Israel. I thank God for Prime Minister Netanyahu, who has been courageous and to step up. And so really, I think we must all continue to support them, pray for them, and hope that this ends swiftly.
Completely agreed. Iran has been terrorizing the entire planet for decades now, and they've gotten away with it. So it's high time that they finally be neutralized. I completely support the mission, and I completely agree with you, sir. So thank you for your time today.
Listen, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you.